Has the last month for you flown by, or does it seem like forever and a day ago that it was the wild card game?
It was the wild card game was a second ago, I think, but it still seems like there's been a lot of baseball in between. But I was just thinking just a couple of minutes ago, this is like the first day that in a while that you wake up with that feeling in the pit of your stomach, that nervous stomach, because it's like Game 7 of anything or a Caps playoff game. It's that same feeling that you had in the wild card game, and you had it going into Game 4 of the division series with the Dodgers, and you had to win that game to stay alive and then win Game 5 in L.A. And they haven't had that feeling since because you wiped out. Then you're in a 7-game series, so you kind of relax a little bit. You don't have that feeling in the pit of your stomach. And they wiped the Cardinals out in 4 games, and then, okay, you lost a game in the World Series. You won the first 2 games. You felt great. Okay, you lost one. It's a 7-game series and all that. So you don't really, now that the Astros won those 3 at Nats Park, there's that pit of the stomach. But that's when the Nats have come through and played their best. So, I have a good feeling with Strasburg on the mound. I know it's going to be a raucous crowd in Houston and everywhere on the road. So this is the 3rd time in World Series history that the road team has won the first 5 games of the series. The road team's never won a game ever. So a historic moment if they can pull this off tonight.
I just hate the fact that Houston's so freaking good and disciplined, and they're going to force about 900 full counts, and Strauss going to have 103 pitches in the bottom of the 5th, and then you're going to see Rainey and other guys warming up in the bullpen. I think Strauss needs like 2 quick innings because he's got to get to the 7th, in my opinion, unless they score a ton of runs, which I doubt.
That's the only thing that scares me. Yeah, you can't. The key to getting deep into the game is not necessarily, striking everybody out, and hopefully, you can get some weak contact and some easy outs. The best hitters make out 7 out of 10 times. So, hopefully that plays into your hands. You look at the Nats in the last couple of games, and you can say they hit more balls hard than Houston in these games, but they were all right at somebody and were caught. The best contact that they had were line drives or fly balls to the warning track that were caught. So hopefully some of those start to fall in for them and they get a chance to run the bases a little bit. But, yeah, I absolutely Strasburg getting them 6 or 7 innings is the key. If you're at 5 innings tonight, then, maybe you're going to see something different like Anibal Sanchez in relief to come in, to be a bridge with a lead.
Yeah. I don't want to, pick a fight with you, Charlie, but I think in that last game, it wasn't really true with Cole. I think 8 of the 10 hardest hit balls were all by the Astros, and that's just really had their hands full. Maybe in games 3 and 4.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. With all the men they had on base. I mean, they hit some balls hard against Cole in that game. They had a line drive by Soto was a bullet to center field. They had a couple of rocket ground balls, but not many. Maybe, 3, 4 to 5 balls that were Turner hit a ball to right center. Eaton hit a ball to very deep center in the first inning. So they did have a few, but not as many as they had in the other games where they had men on base and all those chances that they couldn't deliver on.
Charlie, this is probably an obvious statement, but it starts at the top for Washington, like it does for most teams. If Turner and Eaton can get on base like they did in games 1 and 2, they got on base 8 times combined, including walks. And in games 4 and 5, they got on base 1 total time. So starts at the top for me. I mean, those guys get on base, they can cause some problems, steal a base here and there. And then, of course, you got the big guys behind them. But if they can get on base tonight at, close to a 50% clip, I think that they can cause some problems.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Turner had a streak of being on base going back to the regular season, 25 straight games, all of the first, 12 playoff games for him, and hasn't gotten on base in the last 2 games. And as you said, Eaton on base once with a walk. So that's a big difference when Rendon and Soto are coming up with nobody on base. And if you look back to Game 2 against Verlander, I mean, Turner walked on 4 pitches to start the game and Eaton singled, and you were in business.
Yep.
Rendon doubled, and you had 2 runs. Eaton had a single and another walk, or Turner had a single, another walk later in the game. The walk was against their bullpen. Verlander was out of the game after 6 innings. So, Verlander gives up home runs. So Let's hope he serves that ball into the plate. This is a home run park, a lot easier than the conditions, especially with the roof closed, to hit the ball out of the park than they were in the cooler weather at Nats Park, where we saw for the most part, unless you pulled the ball down the line, not too many balls were going out. There were a couple that went in the brew house red seats, but again, a lot of the balls were left center, right center, and deep center that did not carry.
Joined by Charlie Slows, voice of the Washington Nationals, right here on 106.7 The Fan. And kind of stepping away from kind of the specifics, you got to call the World Series in Washington. Jason went to the game on Friday night. Just talk about kind of the experience and what you saw there from the fans over 3 nights.
I just think people were ecstatic. I mean, it's for some people, it may be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I mean, there were people I know I talked to after the game. I said, it's pretty cool that we were going to baseball games on October 25th, 26th, 27th, to be in the World Series, to be the talk of pro sports, the talk of baseball at this point. The Nats are the bigger story. The Astros people are talking about, well, if we win this, we're a dynasty. I mean, the Nationals, if they win it, it's a storybook finish to an unbelievable scenario of a season. So, I think people will be disappointed if the Nats don't win, but I think they're still ecstatic that they made this run to get to the World Series, to see what it was like to be at the center of the baseball universe. And Nationals fans did not disappoint. They weren't prompted at seemingly at any point in the 3 games with the Nationals trailing. And people, for the most part, even, 8th and 9th inning when you're losing, 8-1, 7-1, people stuck around to the finish in hopes of a rally or something good happening at the end of the game. So I think people really soaked it in. They came early and they stayed late. The neighborhood was electric. It was like the All-Star game times 20. Mm-hmm. And I think, any knock on Nationals fans that might have been in previous postseasons, for the most part, I think the big knock was, Game 2 against the Giants when the game went 18 innings and the temperature dropped 30 degrees and people came in shorts and short sleeves, were not equipped to deal with temperatures that dropped into the high 40s by the time the game ended. It had that bad look on television. There was no bad look about anything for Nats fans with the way that I think they held their own with anybody in these 3 games.
Mm-hmm. You've already alluded to it, but tonight's got to be an all hands on deck, I would assume. Maybe you save Sanchez in case he has to go Game 7, but you think they could see Corbin tonight?
Yep. I think you could see anybody else, and a lot of that may, depend on how Max is feeling. If you know today that Max could go tomorrow, mm-hmm. If Max says, well, I can pitch, but I don't have enough to go very far, then, maybe you use him tonight in the do-or-die situation.
Right.
We don't know that yet. I mean, and we saw him on the flight yesterday. It seemed like he was physically better than what he was the day before, but, and did not speak to him about it. So
what's your
really
vibe?
hard to
What's
say.
Your vibe on Max?
I think Max, if there's any way he can pitch, he will. It had to be crushing for him and a tremendous amount of pain and discomfort for him to call in that situation when the team needed him most. So if there's a chance he can pitch, he will. I don't know how much he'll have in the tank off this kind of injury. So is a relief appearance more in the cards for him than a start? We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think that it depends on the way the game plays out and whether they think physically there's no chance for him tonight or a chance tomorrow. So, again, do you save Sanchez? Tomorrow you can do all hands on deck, whatever you have to do in a Game 7. But you'd hate to be like the Yankees and Astros were in Game 6 of the ALCS and not have a true starter for a game like that.
So you haven't talked to anybody, or you said you didn't talk to Max, but you haven't talked to anybody within the team about his how he's feeling today? Not
today.
Oh.
Not at this point at 8:30 in the morning here. But I think he was feeling better yesterday from what Davey Martinez said, but it was still too early to tell anything. He had the injection on Sunday
mm-hmm.
Or Saturday. I don't know what day it is now. It takes 48 hours for all of this. Sunday it was 48 hours to truly take effect. So that would be sometime this afternoon to see where he is and whether he is good enough to play catch to get any idea of when he could possibly pitch again.